Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to start making Kale Koala. In this video, I will go through the materials and equipment you will need for this project, as well as how to prepare the pattern and fabric. Following videos in this series, we'll step through the sewing, stuffing and finishing touches for your koala. So let's get started. Kale is made from grey fake fur. I use about 1.4 meters by 60 centimeters. His nose is black suede and needs to be a piece of fabric about 5 centimeters by 6 centimeters. His eyes are 10 millimeter diameter glass eyes, and he has toy fill stuffing inside him. About 110 grams should be enough. You'll also need a sewing machine with sewing threads to match your fabrics, scissors, pins, sewing needle, sticky tape, and fabric marker. One final thing that you may like to use is a dust mask. Just so you know, the fake fur is really furry and likes to make a mess when you cut it. Be prepared to sweep and/or vacuum during and after your project. Once the koala is complete, it will no longer be a shedding menace, unlike a real pet. So let's get started. Feel free to follow along with the written instructions as we go. We're going to start by turning to page 7 of the instruction manual, where you'll find the pattern pieces. Carefully cut around each of the pattern pieces following the black line. This will be your sewing line, so when you mark it out on the fabric, you will need to add a 1 centimeter seam allowance. The only exception to this is a nose, which does not need a seam allowance added. Some of the pieces are in 2 parts, so you will need to cut along the straight edge very carefully and follow the diagram to see how to join the pieces with sticky tape. Now that we have all of our paper pattern pieces, it's time to mark them out on our fabric. Fake fur has a grain or direction that the hairs lay in, and the pattern pieces need to be placed in the correct orientation for maximum cuteness of your koala. The diagram on page 2 shows you the correct orientation of each of the pattern pieces and will be a great guide to help you lay out your koala onto your material. Following the layout, place your pattern pieces onto the fabric and ensure that each pattern piece is no closer than 1 centimeter to the edges of the material and no closer than 2 centimeters to other pattern pieces. This will allow enough space for us to cut between each of the pattern pieces with our seam allowance of 1 centimeter. In order to make marking the pattern out a little bit easier, I'm just going to pin the patterned pieces down in a couple of places. That done, it's simply a matter of tracing around each of the pattern pieces as neatly and carefully as possible. These lines that you're marking become your sewing lines, so it's important that you do them accurately. I'm using a Sharpie because I needed a high contrast for you to be able to see it on the screen, but it would be better if you used a water-soluble marker. Please also remember to mark out any of the special features that are noted on the pattern, such as the leg and arm marks, as well as the places to do the darts on the face. Once you've marked out the pattern pieces and any of their special features, you can remove the pins and then the pattern from the backing. It's then time to cut the pattern pieces out. Ensure that you're always at least 1 centimeter away from the black line, which is your stitching line, and cut each piece carefully. A great tip for when cutting fake fur is to try and only cut the backing fabric. The way we do this is by sliding the scissors along the front of the fake fur as close to the backing fabric as we can, as opposed to cutting through the backing fabric and the fur. Following the layout of pattern pieces diagram that was on page 2 of the instructions, continue to lay out, mark and cut each of the pattern pieces until you have all of the fake fur pieces ready to go. It will then be time to cut the nose. To cut the nose, we pin the pattern piece onto the small piece of black material and cut on the black line. This nose does not have a seam allowance. Now that we've cut everything, we just need to confirm that we have everything that we need. We've got 2 pairs of legs, 2 pairs of arms, 2 pairs of ears, a body, which includes the belly and the back and the front of the head, as well as the nose piece. We're all set to go now. It's time to start sewing, which we'll do in the next video. See you soon.